He humiliated his wife and son during an interview. Years later, she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. The camera lights were blinding, the room brimming with reporters vying for a quote. Sarah adjusted her posture, masking her discomfort behind a practiced smile. Beside her, David thrived under the attention. He was a celebrated director, a man whose name was synonymous with box office success. Sarah, however, was introduced as David's wife, a phrase that carried no identity of its own. It was supposed to be a simple press conference for David's upcoming blockbuster, but things quickly spiraled. A question from the front row broke through the noise. David, as someone with such a prolific career, how do you balance work and family? David leaned into the microphone, his grin widening as he glanced sideways at Sarah and their 13-year-old son Noah, seated awkwardly at the table. Balance, he echoed, chuckling. That's easy. I focus on work and the rest. Well, let's just say I'm the one pulling the weight. The laughter from the room was hesitant, unsure if his tone was playful or pointed. Sarah stiffened, but David wasn't finished. My wife here, he said, gesturing to her with a dismissive wave. She dabbles in acting. But let's be honest, the real talent in this family sits here. He pointed at himself, grinning smugly. As for Noah, well, he's still figuring out what he's good at. Maybe one day he'll surprise us. The air turned colder. Sarah's cheeks burned with humiliation, and Noah stared down at his hands, gripping the edge of the table as if it were his only anchor. That night, the headlines were merciless. Director David Turner dismisses wife and son during interview. Social media erupted with mixed reactions, some defending David as a misunderstood jokester and others condemning his public cruelty. Sarah said nothing publicly, but inside, a fire ignited. She had supported David's career for years, often putting her own dreams aside to raise their son. She had juggled auditions and motherhood, pouring her heart into both, even when the rejection stung. Now, she was little more than a punchline in her husband's ego-driven monologue. The tension between them grew unbearable. Arguments behind closed doors turned into silent meals and eventually complete estrangement. 6 months after the interview, Sarah made the decision to leave. Taking Noah with her, she walked out of the sprawling mansion that had once felt like a prison of unspoken resentment. Starting over was a steep climb. Sarah moved to a modest apartment in a less glamorous part of town, enrolling Noah in a local school while taking whatever acting gigs she could find. They weren't glamorous roles, mostly background characters or commercials for local businesses, but Sarah threw herself into each opportunity with unyielding determination. Noah, too, found solace in new surroundings. Freed from the shadow of his father's looming expectations, he began to explore his own passions. He had always been quiet, a thoughtful child with a knack for seeing beauty in the mundane. One day, Sarah found him tinkering with her old camera, crafting short films with surprising depth. Maybe this is what I'm good at, he said shyly, showing her a 2-minute video he'd created about their neighborhood. The composition was breathtaking, the angles revealing a talent far beyond his years. Sarah felt a swell of pride, realizing that their fresh start had awakened something dormant in both of them. Years passed, each one a mix of struggle and triumph. Sarah's persistence began to pay off. She landed a supporting role in a low-budget indie film, portraying a grieving mother with raw vulnerability. The movie, though modest in scale, earned critical acclaim, with Sarah's performance singled out as a highlight. Word spread quickly in the industry, and Sarah found herself in demand for more substantial roles. Noah, now in high school, started submitting his films to student festivals, earning accolades for his unique storytelling. The mother-son duo became each other's biggest cheerleaders, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. By the time Sarah received an invitation to audition for a major studio film, her reputation had solidified. The part was for a lead role, a character defined by resilience, something Sarah understood intimately. She poured her soul into the audition, channeling years of pain and determination into every line. Weeks later, the call came. She had the role. David, meanwhile, had begun to fade from the limelight. His last 2 films had been critical flops, and rumors swirled about his temperamental behavior on set. Sarah's rising star was impossible to ignore, and whispers of her success began to reach David's ears. He dismissed them at first, brushing off her achievements as luck. But deep down, a gnawing fear took root. She was no longer the woman he had once controlled. As Sarah prepared for the premiere of her breakthrough film, she thought back to the humiliation she endured during that press conference years ago. Her journey had been anything but easy, but every setback had pushed her forward, turning her pain into fuel. She was no longer just David Turner's wife. She was Sarah Turner, a name soon to be remembered by millions. The premiere of Sarah's first major film was a night she would never forget. The red carpet stretched endlessly, lined with photographers and reporters eager to capture every detail. Sarah stepped out of the car, her heart pounding beneath the shimmering gown she had spent weeks agonizing over. The flashes of cameras were relentless, and for the first time, they were focused entirely on her. As she posed for photos, answering questions with poise and humility, she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure lingering in the distance. It was David. He stood at the edge of the crowd, a shadow of the man he once was. His usually sharp suit seemed slightly rumpled, his eyes scanning the scene with a mixture of bitterness and disbelief. Sarah knew he hadn't been invited. This was her night, and for the first time, she felt entirely free of his influence. The film premiered to thunderous applause. Critics called it a masterpiece of emotional depth, and Sarah's performance was hailed as transformative. Offers began pouring in from major studios, each one more promising than the last. But what mattered most to Sarah was seeing Noah's face light up when she returned home that night, holding her first award in hand. Noah, now 17, had come into his own. His films were gaining traction online, drawing attention from independent production companies. Sarah encouraged him every step of the way, proud of the young man he was becoming. Together they formed an unshakable team, each one driving the other toward greater heights. One day, Noah approached her with an idea. "What if I made a documentary about your journey?" he asked hesitantly. "Not just the success but everything that led up to it. I think people would want to see the real you." The thought made Sarah pause. The idea of revisiting her painful past was daunting, but she saw the sincerity in Noah's eyes. "If anyone can tell that story, it's you," she said with a smile. Noah threw himself into the project, interviewing everyone from Sarah's early collaborators to the directors who had taken a chance on her. He even managed to secure footage from that infamous press conference years ago, a moment Sarah thought she had buried for good. Watching it again was like reopening an old wound, but she realized its importance in shaping her journey. The humiliation that once defined her was now a chapter in a much larger story. When the documentary was completed, it premiered at an independent film festival, earning standing ovations and rave reviews. Titled The Silent Star, it painted a vivid picture of Sarah's transformation from a woman overshadowed by her husband to a star who had carved her own path. It didn't shy away from the pain, but it also celebrated the resilience that had carried her through. The documentary's success brought Noah into the spotlight as well. Offers for internships and scholarships flooded in, with established filmmakers praising his vision and authenticity. Sarah couldn't have been prouder, knowing that their struggles had not only shaped her career but had also given Noah the tools to chase his own dreams. As Sarah's fame grew, so did David's ire. He began appearing on talk shows, subtly implying that he had played a role in her success. "She wouldn't be where she is today without the experience she gained from being by my side," he claimed in one interview, his tone dripping with misplaced pride. Sarah chose to ignore him, refusing to engage in his desperate attempts to stay relevant. But when a journalist brought up his comments during a live interview, she couldn't help but address them. "I wouldn't be where I am today without the people who truly supported me," she said calmly. My son, my friends, and the directors who believed in my potential. Those are the people who shaped my journey." The comment went viral, with fans praising her grace and subtle dismissal of David's claims. The public began to see him for what he truly was, a man clinging to the remnants of his fading relevance. The day Sarah received the news about her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, she was sitting in her living room with Noah, reviewing a script for her next project. The phone call left her momentarily speechless. It was a dream she had never dared to articulate, one that felt almost surreal now that it was coming true. She turned to Noah, tears streaming down her face, and said, "We did it." The ceremony was scheduled for the following month, and the anticipation was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. Invitations poured in from colleagues, friends, and even distant relatives who had suddenly remembered her existence. But the only person Sarah cared about sharing the moment with was Noah. Together, they had built a life that was entirely their own, and this star was as much his achievement as it was hers. When the day finally arrived, the streets of Hollywood were lined with fans and media. Sarah stood on the platform, her name etched into the iconic star before her. As she took the microphone, she scanned the crowd, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for this incredible honor," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to spill over. "This star represents more than my journey as an actress. It represents resilience, courage, and the people who stood by me when it mattered most." She turned to Noah, who stood just a few feet away, his camera in hand. "To my son, who is the light of my life and my greatest inspiration, this moment wouldn't exist without you." The crowd erupted into applause, but Sarah wasn't finished. "And to anyone who has ever felt dismissed, overlooked, or underestimated, remember that your worth isn't defined by someone else's opinion. You are capable of more than you know." The speech was met with a standing ovation, and Sarah's name trended worldwide that day. Among the sea of supporters, David lingered at the edge of the crowd once more. He watched as Sarah was embraced by fans and peers alike, the star on the sidewalk a permanent reminder of her success. For the first time, he realized that she had truly moved beyond him, her light shining brighter than he ever thought possible. In the weeks following the ceremony, Sarah's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a symbol of perseverance. Fans flocked to take photos, leaving notes of admiration and flowers as tokens of gratitude. Social media buzzed with stories of how Sarah's journey inspired others to chase their dreams despite the odds. Noah, who had been quietly filming moments from the ceremony, decided to release a short film about the event. The footage captured Sarah's speech, the crowd's reactions, and intimate behind-the-scenes moments of her preparing for the big day. Titled A Star's Journey, the video went viral within hours, earning praise for its heartfelt portrayal of a mother and son who defied expectations. The buzz surrounding the film brought Noah even more opportunities. A prestigious film school extended him a full scholarship, and multiple production companies reached out with offers to collaborate. Sarah watched with pride as Noah began carving his own path, confident that his future was as bright as her own. But amidst the celebration, there was one moment Sarah hadn't anticipated. One evening, as she prepared for a dinner party to celebrate Noah's acceptance into film school, the doorbell rang. Expecting a friend or delivery, she opened the door to find David standing there. He looked older, wearier, his once pristine appearance replaced by a tinge of desperation. In his hands was a bouquet of flowers, an attempt at sincerity that felt out of place. "Sarah," he began, his voice softer than she remembered. "Can we talk?" Sarah stared at him for a moment, the memories of their past rushing back. The humiliation, the abandonment, the years of struggle, it all lingered like a shadow. But now she stood in her own home, surrounded by the life she had built. The balance of power had shifted, and she no longer felt small in his presence. "There's nothing to talk about, David," she said, her tone calm but firm. "You made your choices, and I made mine." He sighed, his shoulders sagging. "I know I hurt you. I see that now. I've been following your success and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." Sarah paused, studying him. There was a time when those words would have meant the world to her, but now they felt hollow. "I appreciate the apology," she replied, her voice steady. "But it doesn't change the past. The only thing that matters is what I've done with my future." David hesitated, his expression faltering. "And Noah?" he asked quietly. "Does he ever talk about me?" Her heart clenched at the question, but she stood her ground. "Noah doesn't need reminders of the man who walked out on him. He's thriving without you, David. And I won't let you disrupt that." The conversation ended there, with David offering a weak smile before turning to leave. Sarah watched him walk away, a mixture of relief and closure settling over her. For years she had carried the weight of his cruelty, but now she felt nothing but freedom. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah began production on her latest film, a passion project she had co-written, while Noah prepared for his first semester at film school. Their bond remained unbreakable, each one drawing strength from the other. Then came an unexpected announcement. The documentary The Silent Star had been nominated for a prestigious award, placing Noah among the youngest filmmakers to receive such recognition. The news was a testament not only to his talent but also to the story they had created together. At the award ceremony, mother and son walked the red carpet side by side, their journey culminating in a moment of shared triumph. When Noah's name was called as the winner, Sarah's applause was the loudest in the room. He accepted the award with a heartfelt speech, thanking his mother for her unwavering support and acknowledging her as the inspiration behind his work. The event cemented their place in the industry as a powerhouse duo. Offers for collaborations and projects flooded in, but they remained grounded, choosing only the opportunities that aligned with their shared vision. Years later, as Sarah reflected on her star on the Walk of Fame, it wasn't the symbol itself that mattered most. It was the journey, the struggle, the resilience, the unshakable bond with her son that had defined her legacy. She had risen from the ashes of humiliation, not just as an actress but as a mother, a mentor, and a force to be reckoned with. And for David, the story took a different turn. His career faded into obscurity, his name remembered only as a footnote in Sarah's extraordinary rise. The world had moved on without him, and he was left with the bitter realization that the family he had dismissed was the one thing he could never replace. As Sarah and Noah stood together on another red carpet, the flash of cameras illuminating their smiles, she knew one thing for certain: their story was far from over. Together they had built a legacy that no one could take away, a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the courage to forge a new path. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.